I can't react.
Cataclysm, one of the most iconic levels in all of Geometry Dash. A level that took the community by storm after its verification 10 years ago. The first real extreme demon in Geometry Dash. This level opened up a question in almost every player's mind. Will I ever beat it? This is the story of how I jumped from Deadlocked to Cataclysm in a single week. Hey, it's me. I'm the guy who attempted to beat Cataclysm within a week of beating Deadlocked. But before we get to that, we have to understand how it all happened. Let's start with the way I play games. Most people when they download the game for the first time do a normal playthrough, or beat all the levels on normal difficulty. For me, I tend to always give myself an extremely difficult challenge before I even know what I'm playing. For example, I beat Hollow Knight by resetting every 3 deaths, and right now I'm doing a Pokemon Radical Red Nuzlocke as my first ever Pokemon. When I downloaded Geometry Dash again after 10 years, I gave myself 1 week to beat all the Rob Top levels without practice mode. After beating all the Rob Top levels, I wanted to do something even harder since that's how I enjoy playing games. This is when I decided to jump from Deadlock to Cataclysm in a single week. But of course, I had to set a couple ground rules before I started. The first rule was no starting position. At the time of making this rule, I didn't know what starting positions were, but people kept telling me to use them and my prideful self said no. The second rule was that I only have 7 days, and that if I couldn't beat it within 7 days, I would owe a random GD streamer $125. Now that I've explained everything, let's jump into the first day. November 3rd of 2025 is when it all began. I started the first day by simply just hopping into the level, as there isn't a lot of other ways I could confront such a huge task. That being said, if you haven't played Cataclysm before, there's 3 incredibly difficult sections of the level. The most difficult being very close to the start. In fact, 13% is so challenging that people say it's the only reason it's rated an extreme demon. Since I learned this pretty early on, I figured that it would be in my best interest to hop into practice mode so I could get a feel of the whole level. Well, that's what I intended to do, but before I knew it, I had over 300 attempts on the start of the section with absolutely 0 progress to my name. Thus, I did the reasonable thing and forced one of my viewers to make a copy of that section. While my viewer was working away on making the level, I decided that it would be in my best interest to try and get better at Wave, by doing a couple mini-Wave challenges. After going back and forth between the two for the next 10 minutes continuously failing, I figured I'd watch the full showcase for the first time. This is also the first time my alter ego decided to make an appearance. It doesn't look too bad outside of the wave. I mean, it's hard, obviously, but I mean, everything outside of the wave looks doable. Yeah, wave looks pretty easy, and so does the ball. The ball looks pretty easy as well. I watched the video 5 more times to really make sure I was ready for that wave section. Alright, what's the one attempt at right here? I just watched the video, I think I can one attempt it. What's the one attempt at? And I failed again and again for another half an hour. It was until my viewer had finally made the level for me. What is this? No, okay, I'm kidding. This wasn't the level. This was the level. And finally, after an hour of over 700 attempts, I finally had done it. I got through the wave section 1 time. For whatever reason, this led me to the conclusion that it was actually time to get a feel for the rest of the level. So I beat the wave section in practice mode and quickly moved on to tackle the next target, the first ship section. I want to quickly point out that this section is extremely fun and I don't really know why. After that, I continued to try and get a sense of the rest of the level, and that had to start with the wave section. But still, the level was mechanically too difficult for me. So after another 10 minutes, I gave up on practice mode and returned to the starting line to see if I could conquer the wave section and finally get a new best. And that's what I did. I absolutely demolished my current high of 13% and made it all the way to 14. And you might be thinking that yes, it's only 1%. That, my friend, is 1% closer to the final goal of 100. But enough with the theatrics. I continued this streak. 18%. Yes! Yes! Okay, I don't know how I got shot up like that, but we got 18. Finally! Then 20%.
Chinese for celebration emoji.
Yes!
Chinese for celebration emoji.
Fuck yes! Whether you think it's skill or luck, at this point it was pretty obvious that I was making some sort of progress. Additionally, over the course of the final 2 hours of the day, I made 22%. 22! And even 23. 23! Even with all the progress to my name. It was pretty obvious that this challenge was going to be a whole lot harder than I had initially thought. After all, I was barely even able to reach my initial goal of 25% for the day. Regardless, I had to end stream and call it for the day, both excited and disappointed from the progress I had made. To start day 2 off, I wanted to really make sure I was ready to take on Cataclysm. So as any normal person would, I figured I'd warm up with Flame Wall, a trivial challenge compared to what I'm attempting with Cataclysm. Okay, kidding. I actually warmed up with the level that was made for me the day before. Shoutout Recalled. After about 10 minutes of suffering, I decided I wanted to check the stats for Cataclysm from the day before, and for whatever reason, none of my stats saved from day 1. Of course, this was just devastating, but I knew that there was absolutely nothing I could do about it, and that I had to just keep striving towards improvement. So I continued playing the wave until I got through it one time. This prompted me into finally starting the level for the day. However, I knew I needed a goal to strive for so I could motivate myself to get through this level. So I set 3, the first being to get as consistent as possible with the first wave section. I had today and 5 other days left to do this, and I needed to be able to consistently get through the first section without issue. This led into the second goal, where I figured I might as well complete the entire level in practice mode, so I could get a better understanding of what I'm up against. Now the third and final goal, which was also probably the hardest, was to reach the 35% mark, inside the ball section. But I figured before I went for any of that, I should try to get the progress back from the day before. You know, since none of it saved. Which I did, mostly. I got back to 21 and figured that was good enough for now and that I would be better off spending my time elsewhere. Thus, I went ahead and hopped back into practice mode so I could maybe, possibly, accomplish goal 2. And of course, starting with practice mode means starting with the beginning of the level. Surprisingly, I quickly got through the wave section, which of course led me into the ship section. I honestly spent quite a while working on getting my consistency as high as possible, which I somewhat did. I was able to do it quite a few times before I decided it was time to move into the next wave, a part I hadn't really practiced much yet. Since I hadn't practiced it much yet, I had to go about it strategically, and here's what I went with. I figured it would be a good idea to practice 2 sections at a time. That way I could get the transitions down as well. So for the wave, I didn't just get through it and place a check mark at the end of the section. I practiced 2 sections at a time. This is when I started to have a breakthrough. I wasn't just learning the wave, I was learning how to transition into the ball. This decision probably saved me hours of my life down the road. Probably. Anyways, I spent a little less than an hour practicing anywhere from the ship to the ball, making tremendous progress on my consistency. But soon after that, I pivoted into finally learning a new section I haven't even tried yet, the UFO. This is where I began to learn that, unfortunately, UFO was just not my strong suit at all.
Dude, I'm gonna lose it.
I was struggling, but I finally noticed something that caused me to have a breakthrough. The music. The beat was aligned to the click timing in the UFO. I instantly started having more success, and was even able to make it to the next area, which I had never been before. This is when I also learned that this would be one of my biggest choke points of the entire level, the second ship section. This is the second most difficult section of the level, an area that I was by no means ready for. I decided that I wanted to learn this section a little more individually since I couldn't get through it at all. So I set a checkpoint at the start. This led to over 500 attempts in the span of 15 minutes and a need for anger management control.
Yep, I think that's definitely the fucking case!
Although I was frustrated, I was learning, shoutout Recalled. He told me that the reverse mini-ship has way different gravity, which is why it was so difficult. I was starting to learn the click timing because of that. While I was rethinking my life decisions, I went ahead and tried doing some runs from 0 to see if I could reach 35%. Goal 3. Well, some runs ended up lasting for 2.5 hours doing nothing other than literally just playing from 0. Looking back, I'm really not sure as to why this is what I spent the majority of my time doing on day 2. But what's done is done, I guess. Since I seemed to struggle with both the ship and the ball more than anything during those 2 hours, I went ahead and practiced some more, and some more, and some more. I spent the last hours of the day practicing everything I had learned, just reinforcing it into my body, ultimately failing 2 out of the 3 goals I had set for myself, and only somewhat accomplishing the first one. Overall, it was a pretty disappointing day, progress-wise only achieving 3% more than the day before and not even reaching half of the level in practice mode. Regardless, the time I spent showed me what I needed to learn and how I needed to practice, So going into day 3, I was determined. As soon as I started stream, I was eager to get in the Cataclysm. I knew all the determination that I had from day 2 was going to carry me to greater heights today, and that I was going to make a new best all the way to the UFO. It wasn't about whether I wanted to, I had to. Because if I wasn't able to make UFO today, there was no chance of me completing the challenge, and I knew that to my core. But before I was going to get a new best, I needed to prepare. I needed to do everything I could to get ready for real runs, and that's what I did. I started the day out cosplaying Sid the Kid from Toy Story, because I knew that if I was going to do this, I needed the GOAT's mentality. Kidding. What I actually did was hop into the warm-up map that Recalled had made for me, similarly to the day before. I mean, it was a good map, who could blame me? After warming up for a few minutes, I hopped into practice mode so that I could get my muscle memory in shape. Oh, wait, that's not... Never mind. I played for about 30 minutes until I pivoted into normal mode to try and get a new best. At the same time in my mind, I knew I needed to start learning parts I hadn't been to yet. This led me to asking Recall to make a practice level for the cube section after the really difficult ship I hadn't gotten past yet. Consequently, I kept on playing through trying to get a new best, but to no avail, I hadn't gotten one yet. But that was okay, because I had all day to make this right. So I went ahead and practiced to start some more. And some more. And some more. I unironically spent what was basically the first 2 hours of stream practicing runs from 11 to 35 until I was finally able to do it for the first time. The biggest achievement that I could have possibly needed was accomplished. Take a look. Yes! After a total of 16 hours in what I could only assume is vastly more than 10,000 attempts, I made my first real breakthrough. With the dopamine hitting my brain, it felt like I just got a hotel room with the hottest blonde chick you know, is what I'd like to say. But I didn't. I hopped back into practice mode to go even further down the rabbit hole of learning. As of now, my biggest weaknesses were split up into 3 groups, the first one being the dark wave. I hadn't learned enough wave control, and the click pattern was entirely foreign to me as of current. The second one was the quick orbs in between the spikes. I was either clicking way too early on the first one, which made it harder to click the second one, or I was clicking too late on the second one, which ultimately just got me killed. The third and final one was the UFO, which is honestly no surprise, but at the end of it, where you're supposed to click twice, which at the time I wasn't aware of, I was only clicking one time, which made it extremely inconsistent. To start with, I knew it was time to tackle 2 birds with 1 stone and try working on both the UFO and the ball by doing runs from 27% to 40%. The start of the ball and the end of the UFO. And over the course of the next hour or so, I dropped a little over 1,000 attempts, making it to the ship a few times and getting extremely consistent with the ball. Additionally, I had gotten a little better at the UFO, but was still only tapping once since, at the time, that's all I knew how to do. Regardless, with my newfound confidence, I realized it was time to get a new best, so I opted out of practice mode and found myself at the start of the level. And within 20 minutes, it happened. Take a look.
Holy fuck! Oh.
I did it. I finally achieved one of my goals. Plus, not only did I achieve the goal, I got halfway through the UFO, which in my eyes was a huge accomplishment. And to be honest, I was content with that for now, so I figured I'd hop back into an area I've barely scratched the surface of and practice a second ship again. But not only was I practicing the ship, the next section of the level that I've only seen in the showcase, the cube section. Going into it, I had been told multiple times by various people that after the ship section, the level gets way easier, until the end, which given, for most people it probably does. But for me, who has almost 0 experience in tight cube jumps, this section was the epitome of hell itself. I genuinely don't know why or how, but in the hour that I practiced from ship to cube, I never got past it once. Not once! I never got past it. I couldn't learn the timing of any of the orbs at all and was a huge choke point for me as of now. But enough of that for the moment. I needed a break. And what better way to take a break than playing the level of the person who said, "Hey buddy, you want to play my level?" in the middle of my 8-hour stream. I'll just let you watch.
that
Hey,
much.
buddy.
Hey, buddy, it makes me feel so much anger and rage. I'm in the middle of a fight, an extreme demon where I have 25,000 godforsaken fucking attempts on this level. And you're telling me, hey, buddy, you want to play my level? It's the most poorly designed piece of shit in existence ever. And I just play my fucking level. Someone like me who has 3 TikTok live viewers and maybe a cumulative of 8 or 9 YouTube and Twitch combined, and you want me to play your level, find a better use of your time. Are you right?
Search that guy's level real quick, please. It's so bad. Like, it's actually unironically so bad.
Hey, buddy.
Twitch...
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it. You know what? Fine. Hey, buddy. I will play your buddy. Your buddy. Okay. Yeah, I'm tired.
It's so fucking ass.
Oh, this is heat. Yo, this is tough. Yeah. Yeah, buddy. This is tough. Oh. Well, after that abomination of time spent, I decided I'd start from the beginning again to see if I could make any progress. And ultimately, I didn't. I soon spent the last couple hours practicing different bits and pieces, so my sleep buff would be stronger. But overall, day 3 is where I have seen the most progress thus far in the challenge, and I was not ready to give up. I ended the day off with a best of 32%, and I hopped off excited for day 4. I quickly started the day out by hopping right into the wave practice map. That way I could get my fingers warm to the pattern again. As soon as I was feeling comfortable enough with how warm I was, I jumped into Cataclysm on practice mode. And again, I'm someone who believes in how important it is to set goals, whether it's for Geometry Dash or not failing your freshman year of biology class because your teacher doesn't even speak the same language as you. And at least for now, my goal is to simply practice from the first ship all the way to the second ship. A pretty large margin of the level. And after quite a while of practice, I managed to do it quite a few times, this being one of them. Wait, was that 2 times in a row? That might have been 2 times in a row. Since my confidence was pretty high now that I was able to take on most of the first half of the level, I knew it was time to again take on my next major task. The ship section at 40. The first being, well, it's just one of the massive choke points of the level. The second being separate from the level itself and more about the skill aspect. You see, the next challenge I already had planned after this was something far more difficult and is actually what I'm in the middle of right now. A jump from Cataclysm to Bloodbath without practice mode. And from the knowledge I already had of Bloodbath, I knew I was going to need as much ship skill as I could possibly attain from this level. For that reason, I needed to practice this part as much as possible. Not just for the sake of now, but for the sake of the future. So that's what I did. I practiced the ship for almost an hour straight, consistently getting more consistent. All with the overall goal to get through the ship section 2 times in a row. And then after all that time had passed, it finally happened. Well, almost. Close enough to prove that I was improving. So I checkmarked it and decided it was time to learn the cube section again. You know, my current worst area of the level. My overall goal with this was to sneak into unmarked territories and start learning the ball section that I had yet to experience in first person. And surprisingly, after only a few short minutes, I made it to the ball section. Now this is where the first memory section of the level comes in. Although hardly. You see, technically it's not very difficult, but when you have the memory of a 70-year-old at the young age of 17, the beginning of this section, and the next ball section, aren't very appealing. Regardless, I knew I needed to start learning it sooner than later, so I checkmarked it and started working the mines. For about 7 minutes. I only spent 7 minutes trying to learn it before I went back to the start of the level to try and get a new best. Yeah, I really don't know why I did that instead of practicing, but oh well. And so on, after failing again and again, for 20 minutes I ran through some standard practice runs before calling it a day. Looking back, day 4 is a day where everything started to come together like missing puzzle pieces to a puzzle you've just spent ages working on. So even though I hadn't progressed technically by getting a new best, all the time I had spent practicing finally felt like it was starting to pay off. Everything was set. Day 5 is where I knew I was going to pick up the lost time. I started day 5 like every other day so far, but with one exception. A coach. Now, not just any coach.
Coach Kruik, a coach from Apex Legends. In the past when he played Geometry Dash, he had beaten over 100 demons, 9 of which were extreme. But today, he's here to be a motivational driver. I mean, just listen to this.
You're an unemployed fucking basement dwelling piece
And
of
you
shit.
think this negative feedback is going to help me get a job?
You're a piece of shit.
Oh,
for not having a job.
alright,
You're a
okay.
piece of crap.
While I'm still feeling extremely motivated, let's establish what the goals were for today. First and foremost, I needed to reach 50% in one run. As difficult as this was going to be, it needed to be done. The next goal was to finish the entire level in practice mode, since at this point I was finally mechanically good enough to do that. And 3, get a run from the ball all the way to the dual ship. If I could accomplish these 3 things by the end of day 7, I would be on pace to actually completing the challenge. The best way to accomplish this was just re-warming up to the basics, which I did. Over the course of the next 2 hours, I went from practicing 0% to the ball and practicing from the ball to the second ship. Overall, just getting the first 50% in 2 runs and practicing the bits and pieces I was struggling on, like the UFO. And after only 6 attempts, I did it.
Bad RNG is why you don't purchase from Timo.
Fuck! Ah, damn it! Oh, man. Fuck.
A new record of 39%, an entire percent better than my previous record. I absolutely knocked it out of the water. And even though it was a new best, it wasn't 50%, and at some point I was going to have to unlearn my bad habit of clicking only 1 time on this UFO. This segued into me learning the next part of the level that I had started the day before, the memory ball. But not just the ball, it was time for me to start learning the rest of the level. I was already done with 5 out of the 7 days in the challenge, and I had only learned the first half. If you do the math, I was bound to fail the challenge. But this challenge isn't based on math, it's based on dedication. And fortunately, that's something I had a lot of. So I started. I got back into the ball in practice mode and started learning bit by bit, piece by piece, learning the ins and out of every single click to its fullest, continuing this until I had finally made it to the ship. But even though I made it to the ship, I wasn't going to checkpoint yet, because I wanted to ingrain this section into my muscle memory, all until I felt confident enough in my ability in the second ball. And I did it. I finally made it to the final stretch of the level, the 3rd most problematic part of the level, the final ship. It's pretty obvious just from watching, but the start of this ship isn't really that difficult. But the further you go, you get to this part, the dual ship. It's a deadly choke point in this level. Not really because of its difficulty, but because of the nerves. You see, the dual straight fly is a little harder than it seems because it isn't truly symmetrical. And if you aren't able to keep a consistent straight fly, your top ship is probably going to hit the bottom spikes. Now, I didn't know this yet, but once you get past this, you've pretty much beaten the level. Even though I didn't know that, I wanted to get as consistent as possible so that I could maybe, just maybe, fluke the level. And at that time, I thought my theory might just end up working, with me completely doing a full run from 70 to 100. Check it out.
Shit part, so I'm just gonna say I'm gonna practice this part until I get to an easier segment. Or
What
something
level
where
are
I
you
can Scream Machine.
There you go, Rico. Yo, this end is so easy. What the hell?
I finally did it. It took me a little longer than I had expected, but after 5 days into the challenge, I had finally beaten the level in practice mode. This reignited some of the hope I had lost earlier. I now knew it was almost time to get my first real run. It was time to practice from starting position to starting position, from checkpoint to checkpoint, from ship to ship. I now had to do my first run from 40 all the way to 100. But before that, I needed to practice the individual parts a little more just to refine my ability. And after some time, I decided I would take a short break and try a couple runs from 0. You know, to maybe get a new best. I then failed a few attempts, making it pretty close to 39, but just falling a little bit short. Although preceding that, the funniest thing that you wouldn't believe happened. After 6 hours with nothing to show on paper, I struck gold. I made the impossible possible. Now take a look at this and do not look away.
Fuck! Oh, shit! Whew. What if you don't beat it in 7 days? I owe 150 bucks.
And after all that effort to reach 46%, you would have figured I'd feel like Zeus gave me the power to fair fight grief, but all I could say was this. Ooh, the nerves, man, the nerves. Oh shit, my left hand is shaking. Holy shit. Well, after finally getting a PB, I played a few more attempts and thought it would be best just to hop back in and start practicing to see if I could get a run from 52 to 100. But of course, before that, I needed to get a run from 52 to the dual part of the final ship section, since I hadn't even done that yet. And I worked towards that. Not long after I started, I had done it.
Do you think GD players think about like when they get bullied? Do you think they can one frame their way out of getting hit?
You think
Bro.
GD players are bullied, bro? They don't go outside? The fuck?
Oh yeah, they can't experience getting bullied because they don't go outside. My bad.
If you were wondering who was in my ear during this run, it's someone named Liquid Aim. A person who thinks Geometry Dash is both a child's game and is extremely easy, because all you have to do is click. Anyways, even though I had gotten that run, it was pretty obvious I still needed to work on that dual ship. The third, and final, hardest part of the level. Thus, I finished my day out practicing runs over and over, elated of how far I had truly made it over the past 5 days. And especially today. Hey, not to bother your viewing experience or anything, but this video took a long time to make. I mean, you can tell by just looking at my hair. Anyways, I would really appreciate it if you would consider subscribing so I can get monetized so I can pay my rent. Bills are due. Okay, that's all. Enjoy the rest of the video. Goodbye, subscribe. Bye now. Before I even started stream on day 6, I had an itch. An itch that said today was the day and that I was going to beat the level. Or at least get close. With all the progress I had made the day prior, I was practically oozing with overconfidence and optimism. There's nothing wrong with that though. At least not when you were up against what some would consider an impossible challenge. And although it was faint, I could see the light at the end of the tunnel. Even if I wasn't able to conquer it today, I would make tremendous progress one way or the other. Going in with this mentality led to a quick warm-up, followed by what I thought would be a quick practice mode run through the level. That was shortly interrupted by an unexpected visitor. This is Xylus and Kaylee, two individuals whose entire goals in life conflict with mine. I prefer peace and prosperity, while they prefer conflict and rage bait. As you can see here, it was working. Yes, I'm trying clicking at the right time, Xylus! Yes! I'm gonna fucking lose my shit, bro. I'm losing my mind already. This is not a good thing. Have you tried clicking at the right time? Kaylee? Fuck you. You come in my chat one time a year? You come in my chat one time a year! And that's what you say. As you probably know, when it comes to Geometry Dash, being emotionally filled with contempt or animosity slows your progress. Tenfold. It's like trying to climb up a steep cliff when there's a burdenless, straight path all the way to the top right next to you. And I know this now because for the 2 full hours they were in my stream, I played horribly. I didn't get a single successful run until, you wouldn't have guessed, they left my stream after 3 full hours. After my successful run, I needed to back it up with another. I started doing small runs from where I died until the end of the level, trying to reinforce my muscle memory for the dual ship. Most of my attempts were just plain and utter failure, but the few attempts I did get through, I died in the most horrible ways possible, over and over in the easiest sections of the entire level, the final wave. Just imagine you're in war 3,000 years ago and all you have to your name is a glaive. You're fighting off a long wave of high-ranking enemies fighting for glory and honor, and as soon as you get through every single last one of them, you feel something gut-wrenching. A little boy standing below you, not over the age of 12, has stabbed his saber in your stomach, while barely being able to hold it due to the sheer weight. That is what dying there in a real run would feel like. I got nervous enough about that section that I decided to set up camp and checkpoint it for a little bit so I could maybe calm myself down and feel better about myself. The plain opposite happened. All that built up confidence I had earlier, gone. I could feel it draining out of me by the second as I continuously failed the final section of the level. I was starting to get extremely paranoid. In fact, I got so paranoid that I pulled up and watched the showcase for the section, which would usually be completely unnecessary. Shortly after finishing the showcase, I went back a couple checkpoints and calmed myself down enough so that I might be able to do a full run of both sections. And that I did. Yes, I died on purpose. After regaining some of the lost confidence from earlier, it was time to finish the commitment that I had made the day before, getting the level in 2 runs. I already practically had 0 to 50, now I just needed to do the final half. The starting point was 35, and the destination was 100. It was so close. The final gap was within arm's length, and all I had to do was reach out and grab it. And after a short 30 minutes, I reached out.
Oh my gosh.
It was the most bittersweet fruit I had ever taken a bite out of. I finally made it all the way past the second ship, past the cube section, past the final ship and the wave, and I died to the straight fly? As absurd as it was, reality clearly struck quick, and even though I basically made it the whole way, I felt as if a piece of myself was missing. Just a small one. I soon went for the first real attempts of the day, as thus far I'd only really practiced. Although I still felt as I wasn't ready yet, so after just a few minutes I gave up and went back to practicing. After grinding the same cogwheel for the next 3 hours as I had been for the past few days, I did feel a little more ready than I was prior. Not a lot, but a little bit. There was a mix of doubt and uncertainty that crept at the back of my mind, feeding on any negative thought I was having. But I suppressed those emotions the best I could and started working toward a goal of at least 50. I may have had the level in 2 runs, but I still struggled immensely at both the UFO and the cube section and wasn't certain of my success. After an attempt that was full of disappointment, since I died at the ship that I had practiced probably over 10,000 times at this point, I pressed retry and put my heart and soul into it. Left one. That's how I die? That's how I fucking die? I die like that? That's how I get my fucking new 1%? That's how I die? As you can see, I clearly wasn't very excited about my new best. Although new best it was, it fell short of what it could have been due to a minor, but fatal error I made. Even still, I had dopamine flowing through my body, as if I was channeling chakra through all of my limbs. So I thought I could use that to my advantage. But I was wrong. I spent the last few hours wasting my time trying for new best without a hint of success. Day 6 was an absolute mixture of emotions, with a lot of ups and downs as I both achieved my goals, but fell short of others. Going into the final day, I was going to have to give it my absolute best, or else my bank account was going to be in the negatives and I was going to fail the challenge. It was time. I had one more chance, one more opportunity to do a jump in a time frame that has never, since the beginning of time, been accomplished. Aware of how serious this day was due to everything on the line, I had to start things right by discussing what lies ahead. I knew that going in order would be the best way to accomplish these goals, thus I started with practicing the 45% ship. In addition, and after all this time, I finally started tapping 2 times on the UFO. In reality, it probably wasn't reasonable to wait this long to reform the bad habits I had since the clock was a ticking time bomb. But I did it anyway since my brain is sometimes a little slow. I know you can relate. To add on to all that, I was also getting practice in the cube section and even sometimes, though very minimally, the dual ship. It's not like I was just killing myself after I got past the ship, so I actually got some pretty nice runs. After achieving what I considered, at the time, a good level of consistency in the earlier parts, I decided it'd be a good idea to focus on goal number 3, because as we know, it's been the heaven to my hell. I've had the least amount of practice here, and that likely wasn't going to change over the course of a few hours, but at the very least, I knew I could tip the scales in a different direction. I started by practicing at the beginning of the full ship section so that I could get practice going into the transition. It wasn't long until I got a full run from there to the end, so I upped the practice pace and set a checkpoint right after. I spent my time diligently practicing until I was confident enough I wouldn't die to the dual part, let alone the wave at the end. I deleted a couple checkpoints and started from 40 to see if I could get a full run. I reaped the rewards of my practice much sooner than I could have hoped. Only an hour into stream and I was confident enough to call a 40 to 100 run as soon as it started. This was an obvious calling to finally collect the fruits of my labor. Right here, this is gonna be a 40 to 100 right here. Holy fuck. Woo! Holy shit. Okay. Alright. Okay. That's the second 40 to 100 run we've done. With all the kinks worked out, it was time to start from zero. Or so I thought. Shortly after starting from zero, I learned of one of the many more problems I was going to end up encountering throughout the final day. I had been so caught up in learning the final half of the level in the past 3 days that I hadn't thought to practice much from the beginning. This was problematic because now I couldn't get past the first wave. Behind the facade of confidence that was on my face, I started to shudder in the back of my mind. What if I fail? How will I pay the bills this month? What about the kids? More than anything, what about my pride? All of this was circulating in my head, but I knew that failure was not an option. If anything, these thoughts pushed me further, beyond the brink of what should be possible for motivation, so I continued onward in the pursuit of success. I don't actually have bills to pay, by the way. I live with my parents. The confidence soon revealed itself after I practiced the wave a couple times, and I soon found myself in the second half of the level, in practice mode. As a person, I'm someone who tends to try to over-prepare when it comes to things like this. In an Apex match, I will fully make sure I have everything I need for a 1v3 regardless of how difficult it might be to obtain. And it was clearly no different. I spent more and more time going over the prior flaws I had later in the level just so that when I got there, I wouldn't fail. I continued retracing my steps and practicing anywhere from 0 to 100 for another 3 hours. Then finally, after all that time, I felt truly confident in myself. It showed clearly in my gameplay. With only 2 minutes into playing from 0, I did something I never would have thought possible prior. Holy fuck. Holy shit. Oh, man. Oh, I got so stressed. Holy fuck. Oh, man. Okay. Dude, if I wasn't stressed, I could have done that. If I wasn't so stressed, I could have done that. This is a key phrase for problem number 2. Looking back at this challenge, there was one deciding factor that could have made this 1,000 times easier. While I was so worried about being as perfect at the level as possible, I was new to this game. I'd only just beaten Deadlocked a couple days prior and haven't even beaten a level outside of the Rob Top ones, let alone an Extreme Demon. I was lacking experience, and it was clear as day. Overcoming nerves isn't something you could do in practice mode, which is why this is problem number 2, nerve control. And I had only experienced it once. I wasn't even wary of it yet. As the day continued on, I finally started understanding that nerves might be my undoing. Hours passed, and hundreds, if not thousands, of failed attempts went with the hours. That was until I was reflecting on my mishap and finally had what some might call a breakthrough. Oh, I'm so fucking nervous! Fuck! Oh my god, man! Fuck! This attempt gave me a significant boost in learning nerve control, but I had no idea if it would be enough. It was a struggle through and through. Over the course of the next couple hours, I practiced and attempted the level, both of which were starting to look inevitably futile. Not just because of the nerves and the level difficulty, but because of problem number 3. You see, I did this challenge over the course of a week. relentless in playing and frugal with the amount of breaks I gave myself. This was starting to develop what I was beginning to think would be a permanent injury in my hand. I might just be pressing a key, but how many times have I pressed this key since starting? 2? No, 300,000 times? Maybe more? I honestly have no idea. What I did know that was regardless of my desire and dedication to the task at hand, is that I was reaching my limit, physically and mentally. It was starting to get to the point where I was being a lot less careful with my breaks and almost taking them every 15 minutes, which clearly isn't something I usually do. After a plethora of unsuccessful attempts, I was 13 hours into playing and I was giving myself 1 more hour to accomplish it. That was until I thought of a proposition. Now, hear me out. I'm gonna make a poll, okay? I'm gonna make a poll. And the poll is gonna consist of me asking if we can do double or nothing. We go from 25 subs to 50, and you guys give me 1 extra day. Let's go ahead and get this written up real quick.
Okay, before we begin this, I have some questions. If we select
50
no, does that
gifted.
mean you're going to be spending the rest of the day here trying to beat this level? Or are you going to get off and quit?
I don't know. No, I probably would hop back on. Well, it looks like the poll has come to... Oh, wow. Truly, truly tragic. It is a tie, so we will flip a coin.
Coin flip.
I'm taking... Grook, would you like to take chat as a representative? What would you...
Yes, please. Chat,
Well-
we're going heads or tails. We do indeed love furries. Tails.
Tails. Okay, so just to clarify, tails, I have to continue tonight. Heads, I end up finishing tomorrow, if possible. If not, then it's 50 gifted. Alright, it looks like it landed on heads. So I will see you guys tomorrow. I hope everyone has a fantastic night. We will do a double or nothing tomorrow. If we aren't able to do it, it'll be 50 gifted. That is $250, by the way. What is this? What's wrong? We flipped we did a poll. We agreed on a coin flip. And now you're all unhappy. Sure, I'll come to an agreement with you guys. How about this? Give myself a maximum of 4 hours. I hope that is a good in between. So I hope that works for you guys. With a clear unanimous decision from chat, the rules for the final day were simple. I have 4 hours to complete Cataclysm, and if I can't, I owe a random GD streamer 50 gifted. With the rules on the board, it was time to go to sleep to get ready for the final 4 hours of Cataclysm. Because if I wasn't, I was going to lose out on my pride and $250. Mostly $250, but you know. Okay, well, we'd like to wait for a couple more, but I think we should just get into it. Basically, yesterday at the end of stream, for everyone that wasn't there, did a community poll to see whether we do double or nothing today. Originally, it was 25 gifted that I was gonna need to owe, okay? But now it's 50 gifted on the line. And if you don't know how much that is, that's about $250. And if I can't beat it today, I have lost the challenge and $250 or 50 gifted. That's basically what happened. It was a unanimous decision between my chat and the poll read up the double or nothing. So we are gonna be doing that today.
Good luck, Jesiah. Totally didn't rig the coin toss.
I don't know what you're talking about. You heard me. I've explained both the day before and just a minute ago. I had 4 hours to get this done, or I would have a serious dent in my wallet for the next couple months. But before I got into the full attempts, I had to warm up my fingers and muscle memory to fully capitalize on my short time. I did this by practicing my low points in the levels, such as the second ship and the final ship, and also adding in some caffeine. After what felt like only 5 minutes, I was an hour deep into practice and I needed to start from zero, for what would hopefully be the last time.
Now, if I'm gonna be honest, there isn't a lot that I, as a narrator, can add to the final minutes of this challenge. Thus, I'll leave it to the footage to tell the rest of the story for me. Fuck, I got distracted. It's okay. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Shit. This game is shit! I can't. Fuck it. Damn it. Fuck. Fuck. Like, why am I dying at 39? Dude, I'm dying at the easiest part of the fucking level. I was just talking about having a good mental, but I'm dying at the easiest part. I'm gonna lose my mind, bro. I'm dying at the easiest part of the entire fucking level. Okay, not quite, but damn it. Fuck. 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 I'm gonna lose it. And I tapped twice. Dude. Current hardest is Deadlocked. Because this is first community demon. I think it's in the description, but I did change it today, so it might not be anymore. This is my first community demon. Holy shit. Holy fuck! I can't react. Fuck. Oh, shit. Oh, fuck, dude. Oh, shit. Oh my fucking god, finally. Oh my god. Holy shit. Oh. That was it. I finally did it. After roughly 45,000 attempts, 72 hours of streaming, and 8 different days, I beat Cataclysm as my first demon outside of the Rob Top demons. This challenge was genuinely extremely rough physically, even more so than mentally. And it was all for this video. So I really hope you guys enjoyed, as I put a lot of time and effort into it. And that's all. I hope you guys enjoyed. See ya, subscribe. Goodbye now. Okay, goodbye. Goodbye.